Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast. I'm Ann Alvarez, parent coach, school counselor, and mother of two. Do you sometimes struggle with your parenting role? Do you notice that sometimes you're repeating patterns that you learned in your own childhood? Maybe you are carrying childhood pain that has not been healed, and you notice that it is showing up in your parenting with your own children. Perhaps you yell or get frustrated easily. Maybe you are directing them or telling them what to do all the time, and you notice that your actions are affecting your relationship with your children. Well, parents, I totally understand this. I came from childhood pain and I learned how to be a relational parent with my children. And I can teach this to you as well. This podcast is all about learning how to heal the childhood pain that we are carrying so that we can foster healthy relationships with our kids. Join us every week for a new show, and we will dive into the healing and the fostering of healthy relationships with our children. Hello, parents. Welcome to the Masterful Parenting Podcast and YouTube channel. I'm so excited today because I have a special guest. Her name is Nicole Runyon. She is an esteemed psychotherapist, parent coach, and keynote speaker renowned for her expertise in child and adolescent mental health, backed by an extensive 21-year career in the field. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. All right, so let's get into it. What brought you to this work and writing a book?
So, I was seeing children for psychotherapy for decades. And what I noticed in my practice were kids who were coming to me with extreme mental illness with no root in anything psychosocial. The kids had not experienced trauma. Their families were intact. Their parents were loving and supportive. And I couldn't quite figure out what was happening. And this was right around, I would say, 2014, 2015. The only change that this generation of kids was undergoing that was different from previous was their access and exposure to technology. And so I started to make some connections between how technology was infiltrating their development and how that was really causing so much of the mental illness that I was seeing in front of me. And over time, I've developed a program for parents to understand this deeper.
Okay.
And I've really flipped the script in my private practice. I'm no longer doing therapy with children because I don't think it's really the kids. I think the parents need the help and the parents need some guidance and education around what's going on and then what to do about it. I think we have a really clear understanding of the problem now, but I think parents don't really always know what to do. So I want to support them. And part of supporting them was writing this book.
Wow. Okay, I totally agree with you. I think like when we change parenting, we change families, right?
Yes.
So the focus on parents, I think, is so key. And I'm similar to you in that I've been working with teenagers for so many years, but but I know that when I work with their parents, that is the biggest impact in their lives.
Yes.
So that's really, really great. Okay, why do you think parents are rushing to get therapy for their children can actually be a harmful thing to do?
Yeah, I think that when kids who don't need therapy get therapy, they tend to think too much about their feelings. They ruminate, they get stuck. They often will overattach to their diagnosis and will kind of internalize it and feel like there's no way out because it's some kind of a disorder that they have no control over. I also think there's like a huge therapy culture now. in our culture online, there are mental health influencers who talk about their mental health and their mental
Yeah.
illnesses. And I think kids are really over identifying with them. And so if a kid who doesn't need to be in therapy is in therapy, and then they get a diagnosis, and then they think a lot about it, and then they go online and they identify with those people who seemingly have that diagnosis, then we're dealing with a kid that feels no sense of internal locus of control
Mhm.
and doesn't really know how to get to the other side of what they're struggling with or what's hard. And then we have kids who are just not functioning, and we're seeing that a lot in our young adults right now.
So are you thinking, are you saying like the access to technology is giving our kids information about mental health and they're looking for reasons why they're feeling the way they're feeling or whatever they're experiencing? They're looking online to validate, I guess that's the word, validate their experience, what they're going through, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is happening. I think because we have a disconnect in the family, we have a disconnect with the community. There really isn't a sense of like the village and the communities are being eroded, mainly because the communities have moved online. So kids, when they're struggling with something, they don't feel that they have these, safe adults to go to, or that the adults even really know how to help them because the adults themselves are struggling. So yeah, they go online and the algorithm feeds them everything they want. It's designed to keep us on for as long as possible. So if they're
Yeah.
searching something like, I feel sad, or how do I get help for this, or what do these symptoms mean, or what diagnosis do I have, then suddenly they're going to be being fed content that is, feeding into that notion that they're ill in some way. And there are all kinds of influencers who, frankly, are making a lot of money
Uh-huh.
claiming to have these mental health issues. And it's really harmful for kids because, again, they're over identifying with that.
Right. I think we have to, as a society, normalize struggle because
Yes.
life, like life is not this way and life is not this way. It's not a straight line and it's not up a mountain. Our life is full of peaks and valleys, right?
Yeah.
And struggle is actually not a negative thing
Mhm.
because we learn about ourselves through struggle, right? Like when I work with kids who are struggling, it's an opportune time to learn what's important and to learn strategies for coping and resilience, right?
That's, yeah.
Like I think society is like, oh, don't struggle. Maybe we've had this messaging for a long time. Like society has given this messaging that don't show you're struggling. Don't tell people that you're struggling. Struggling is bad. But I
Mhm.
think we're getting more and more aware that we can open up about our feelings, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we have a mental illness. It
That's
means
right.
that we're going through a phase in our lives that's challenging.
That's right.
Okay.
Because the pendulum can't go from one extreme to the other, right? So if there was an extreme of we can't struggle, we can't talk about our feelings, now it's extreme in the other way where it's too much focus and attention on our feelings. And somehow along the way, we thought that our feelings always had to be positive and happy and good. And you're right that somewhere in the middle of that pendulum swing is life is up and down, and you're going to have good and you're going to have bad. And what do you do with that? And the
Yes,
adults need to be able to do that for themselves so we can help the kids do that.
100%, 100%. Do you think maybe adults struggle with this because of growing up with this messaging that you don't talk about your problems, you don't show your feelings, like
Yeah.
you bottle it all up inside. And so now they struggle when their kids have these emotions and they are struggling themselves. Like
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
a component of it, right? Is that we have to change maybe the messaging that we grew up with, um, and that normalizing emotions, that all emotions are good and that we are supposed to experience emotions, right?
Yeah.
That's part of being a human being, really, is experiencing our emotions. Okay.
Yes.
So how do we help parents, or how do you help parents with their kids when they are having mental health struggles?
Well, it's really what you just
Or
said.
how do parents help their kids? Sorry, that's what I meant. How do parents help their kids?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think both of your questions apply here. Us parent coaches, people that work with parents, are there to help parents help their kids, right? So I like to say I help kids through their parents
Mhm.
because we don't, as parents, have the tools. Most of us, to your point, we were raised. I'm Gen X, and anyone who's raising a teenager generally is Gen X, and in that generation, we were considered the latchkey kids or the forgotten about generation, right? And we were just sent into the world to figure it out ourselves. And in a lot of ways, that was really good. We learned how to be resilient and resourceful, and we had agency, and we know how to solve problems. But on the other end of it, our feelings weren't considered and they didn't matter. So, what we've done in Gen X is we've gotten so far into caring about our Gen Z kids' feelings, so much so that now we don't allow for the struggles. So, what can parents do is work through their own discomfort, their own wounds about their childhoods, right? That didn't go so well, or what was missing for them, or, what are their triggers, and work through that. There's lots of ways that parents can do that. And that's what you and I are here for. And then we can hold space for our kids to go through their development, because development and growth is painful and hard. And they're going to experience discomfort in that. But if we can't be uncomfortable in ourselves, we can't give them those opportunities. And essentially, holding space means that we have to allow them to go through it and be there in the wings and be there if they need help, but not do it for them. And I think that's where parents are really struggling today, is we want our kids happy and comfortable. We don't want to see them go through hard times, and we want to fix it. And
Right.
we're really stunting their growth.
Yeah, the fixing actually damages them. I always say to parents, like, when we're fixing, we're giving the message to our kids that they can't handle it.
I say that too. Yes.
Yeah, we're giving the message, we're actually affecting their self-esteem
Hmm.
when we are fixing, because they internalize a message that I can't do it myself. I can't
That's
figure
right.
it out myself, right?
Yep.
Um, it just actually, when you were talking, it just brought to mind a parent I was working with last week. And she was very upset that her son, teenager, uh, came home angry. And so I said to her, why? Why are you upset with him that he's angry? I said, emotions are good. It's good he's showing his anger. I said,
Yeah.
you don't want people to suppress their anger. I said, and I especially feel this strongly as a boy mom.
Yeah.
Um, we don't want men that stifle their emotions,
Hmm.
that bottle it up inside, and then it turns into depression or anger or aggression down the road in their adult lives. So I was explaining to her, let him be angry.
Yeah.
Allow him to feel those feelings, because it's actually okay. It's actually part of being human, is expressing all the range of feelings that we have. And we
Yeah.
as parents have to allow that and not judge it, not say you're being disrespectful or whatever it is that is going through your mind, because that's the way we were brought up. Like, don't show anger because it's disrespectful. Actually, it's not disrespectful. Actually, it's healthy.
That's
Actually, it's
right.
good.
If done correctly and expressed and communicated effectively and not in a violent way. But
Mhm.
yeah, clearly she has had stuff around anger that is unresolved if she can't hold space for him to be that way. So that's where I really start with parents, is that self-reflection and looking at what are your triggers and why, and how can you work through them.
Exactly, exactly. Like, you know, we have to have boundaries if our kids are being unhealthy. So, like you said, you don't want them hitting their little brother or sister,
Mhm.
or breaking things in the house. That's where you can have a boundary. But you can also suggest, like, why don't you go out for a run? Or why don't you go to the park or something and hit some hoops? Do something physical to get your anger out and then come back and we'll talk about it. Something like that, right? But allowing them like allowing them to express it the way they need to express it without harming anybody in the family themselves or breaking things in the house, right? I think
That's
it's
right.
okay. It's okay for them to go outside and punch something. I think it's
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because then you're releasing the anger and you're not bottling it up, which is so, so important.
Yes.
Okay. I want to know more about your book. It's coming out, right? This month?
It is actually, it's already out.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay, do you want to tell parents about your book and what it's about and how it can help them?
Sure. So what I do is I start with that self-reflection piece. So the first chapter, it's called The Mirror. And, I use personal stories and stories of my clients to help parents not feel like this is a, psychology book, or they've made all these mistakes and they can't, rectify it or fix it or go back to it. And so I, really share that we all have things to learn in our parenting. And it's important that we, at the very start, whenever we're looking at our kids and what they need, is to look at ourselves. And then I help parents understand child development from birth all the way through 25. And I developed a framework for the way that children develop. And they start with movement, even in infancy, with the primitive reflexes. And when their bodies move, that scaffolds the brain for growth. So I explain brain development in different stages. And then if the brain can develop, then the child can move into social emotional growth. And I explain that. And then that leads ultimately to what I call the connection to self, which are three critical periods in childhood when children gain independence. And that is at 2, at 9, and at 16. And so I think it's really important for parents to get this kind of education, because when we connected to ourselves, we've done our own work, we connect to our kids and we understand what they need and when they need it in their development, we can give it to them. Choices, decisions, interactions with them become easier, and it's not so much of a struggle. And then I talk about technology and how that has really infiltrated every part of their development. It's made them comfortable. It's not allowed them to work through hard things. And the technology really changed the parenting, because the parents sort of responded to kids who were looking for dopamine all the time by giving them dopamine all the time, even when they're not on their phones. And like we say, just not really being able to sit with them in the discomfort and in the struggle. So I really wanted the book to be an answer to the problem. I do highlight the problem, but the entire book isn't about that, because I think we know what the problem is. And we also, think if you know what the problem is and you're not getting solutions, that's pretty frustrating. So I wanted the book to be a solution for parents, and I give them practical things that they can do that really aren't that hard. One of the major things I think is going on in families today is that parents are disconnected. We're in fight or flight all the time, and stress and overstimulated. And so at the end of the day, we want to check out and we want to scroll. And then because we're scrolling, then we're allowing our kids to be on devices. And so very simply, I just suggest to parents, put your phone down, and instead of, ordering dinner or scrambling for dinner, engage your child in making dinner with you. And, go to the store, pick out the ingredients together, have them tell you what they like, what kind of ingredients they want to use, cook together, sit and eat together. And all of that is a way to stay connected. We don't have to give them
Yes.
Disney days every
Yes.
day when we hang out with them. And I think parents feel that pressure to always be having fun and always be happy. Moms spend an average of 120 minutes a day with their kids, and dads even less, at 85 minutes. So I think
Hmm.
parents are really falling all over themselves to make those times happy and comfortable. And in that, they're missing the point and disconnecting. So keep it simple, make a meal, sit and eat it, light a candle, because if you light a candle when you're eating, it's studies show that you spend 20 minutes more at the
Wow.
meal than if you didn't light the candle. So just kind of slowing down and staying connected.
I love that. I love that. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it makes it more special too when you have candlelight. I
Exactly.
love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because our kids also join our lives, right? So
Mhm.
we want them to be part of our lives. You know,
Yes.
I always think like it's so important that our children know who we are,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not all about them, but also you're sharing things about you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's so good. I like the involvement in the grocery, maybe making dinner together or doing things together that don't involve the technology piece, right?
Mhm.
Because the technology piece gets in the way of connecting and bonding,
Yes.
right? Okay,
Yes.
so that is something I know, I'm going to just tell you, my oldest is 25, my youngest is 15, is such different parenting in
Yes.
that time span. Because I
Mhm.
didn't have that issue with my oldest, and we didn't have technology at home.
Mhm.
So he was a total outdoor kid. We were outside all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, my youngest is at least he gets some influence from the oldest.
That's great.
Enjoy going out. He does enjoy, like I get out on my bike, he gets on his scooter. We all go out together, things like that. So it's just really about balance, parents, right? It's really
Yeah.
about balance. I don't think you're saying no, no, no to a technology, right? You're
I'm saying no to technology at certain ages. So
oh,
in the book, I make recommendations for the ages I think are appropriate based on child development. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're talking about kids under 7,
yeah,
really actually probably under 10, then
yeah.
yeah, they don't need technology. What they need is the
They need you.
childhood.
They
That's
need their
right.
parents.
They need you. Yeah,
That's who
they
they
need to
need.
read books. They need you to read them books. They need to go outside. They need to climb trees. Yeah, all of that.
I'm with
Yeah.
you. Totally with you. Okay. So Nicole, I'm gonna do a quick recap. I know we talked a lot about, but I like to do a little quick recap for parents
Okay.
before we go. So Nicole said, work through your discomfort and your wounds and hold space for your child's feelings. And don't do it all for them. Let them do, right? Give them the message that they can do, they can handle it. And that builds resilience. And we have to be mirrors, right? We have to look at ourselves. And then we also need to learn about child development. It's really important to know that the stages that they're going through so that you can respond in a healthy way with them. And then just Nicole just warned us about the technology, how it interferes in the bonding and connecting within a family, and that we need to be mindful of those simple things we can do every day, like having dinner, candlelight dinner, she suggested, which I love, and cooking, grocery shopping, doing things together builds that connection and that bonding. Is that good, Nicole? Did I
That's
sum it up
great.
pretty good?
Yeah, wonderful. Well
Thank you
done.
so much. Okay, how do parents find you and your book?
Um, Yeah, so they can go on my website, NicoleRunyon.com. There's a tab called My Book, and you can order the book individually. And then there's also a bulk tab for ordering the book in bulk, which I've put in other, things to go with those packages. And then I'm on LinkedIn as Nicole Runyon. I'm mostly active there, but I'm also on Instagram and Facebook at iGeneration Mental Health.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and the book is called Free to Fly,
Yes.
Parents.
Free to
Okay,
Fly,
so
the secret to fostering independence in the next generation.
I love it. I love it. It's so good. Well, thank you, Nicole Runyon. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and your expertise. All
Yes,
right,
this was
parents. We will see you next time, parents. Hope this show gave you lots of value and lots of tips. And we will see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody. Thank you, parents, for joining the show today. I hope it was valuable and that you have some useful tools to use with your children. If this show blessed you or changed you in any way, I would appreciate a review on my podcast, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, or perhaps you could even recommend our masterful parenting to your family and friends. Thank you so much, parents.